One day, a boy realizes that the way he sees people is different from others. While people judge by appearances, this boy sees what lies within. His name is Demian. And on the day another boy first meets Demian's gaze, his world begins to shake. That boy is Emil Sinclair. Hello, this is Journey to Insight, JTI Books. Today's book is Demian, by the German author Hermann Hesse. This book is often called a coming-of-age novel. It portrays the boundaries of morality we encounter in life, the world passed down by our parents, and the confusion beyond it, and ultimately, the process of becoming oneself. Hermann Hesse was born in 1877 in a small town in southern Germany. His parents came from families deeply connected to missionary work, and his household was shaped by strict Christian values. As a child, Hesse grew up surrounded by the Bible, prayer, and religious discipline. Sensitive and independent by nature, he entered a theological boarding school but could not endure it, eventually leaving and even running away. He longed for freedom, yet at the same time struggled with deep anxiety and depression. Even after achieving success, he is said to have wrestled for a long time between guilt over disappointing his parents and his desire to find his own path. These experiences are reflected across his works, including Demian, Siddhartha, and Beneath the Wheel. At the time, Europe was undergoing a shift as traditional values began to weaken, and the shadows of industrialization and war approached. World War I shattered the lives of young people, and Hesse, in the aftermath of the war, deeply reflected on humanity and society. Demian was published within this atmosphere. The protagonist of the story is Emil Sinclair. Sinclair is not a special figure. He is someone who hesitates between desire and fear, perhaps the most similar to us. To the young Sinclair, the world is divided into two realms. One is the bright and safe world of goodness and order, and the other is a shadowed world filled with instinct, temptation, and deception. At one point, Sinclair tells a lie to impress his friends. Because of this, he is threatened by a bully named Cromer and lives in fear. Then, Max Demian appears. Demian is a mature boy who helps Sinclair, but his way of seeing and thinking leaves a powerful impression on him. Demian claims that the interpretation of the Bible, that Abel is good and Cain is evil, is wrong. In Genesis, there are two brothers, Cain and Abel. Both offer sacrifices, but God accepts only Abel's. Consumed by jealousy and anger, Cain eventually kills his brother. For a long time, Cain has been seen as a symbol of evil. But Demian sees it differently. He does not accept the world's division of good and evil as it is. Instead, he reinterprets the story as one of the strong and the weak. To Sinclair, this idea is unfamiliar and unsettling. This interpretation begins to break down the absolute moral boundaries Sinclair had believed in since childhood. From that moment, he starts to feel that he must find his own path. To Sinclair, Demian is also a frightening presence. There was something different about the way he looked at people. In front of Demian, it felt as if he could deceive others, but never himself. For that reason, Sinclair distances himself from Demian. Demian's gaze felt too penetrating, and his way of thinking threatened the safe and familiar world. For Sinclair, who wanted to belong, Demian was too different. He feared that being close to him would separate him from the warm and ordinary world. In the end, he creates distance, but that choice leads to even greater emptiness and loneliness. As he enters adolescence and darker emotions begin to stir, Sinclair seeks Demian again. Caught between good and evil within himself, Demian tells him to accept life as it is. Sinclair rejects the morality taught by his home and school, but he fails to find a new value system. So he tries to blend in with others and return to an ordinary life, to escape, for a moment, from a freedom he cannot yet handle. He tries to forget himself through drinking and indulgence, but his heart only grows emptier. Yet, even this period of wandering is a necessary part of his growth. In the midst of this blurred and drifting life, Sinclair notices a woman. He begins to call her Beatrice. Though he only watches her from afar, her presence draws him back into a world of beauty and order. Through her, he encounters for the first time a desire not of instinct, but of self-refinement. During this time, Sinclair also meets Pistorius, an organist. He believes in God, but does not remain within traditional faith, and he teaches Sinclair how to listen to the divine within himself. Though he meets many people and continues to wander, Sinclair begins to deeply miss Demian. Thinking of Beatrice, he starts to draw her. And at some point, he realizes that the face in the drawing resembles Demian. Only then does he understand what he had truly been drawing. Though he believed they had grown apart, his heart had never left Demian. One day, he dreams of a bird trying to break out of an egg. He draws the bird from his dream and sends it to Demian. Demian replies, "The bird fights its way out of the egg. The egg is the world. Who would be born must first destroy a world." This bird symbolizes leaving behind the familiar and safe world and connects to the idea of Abraxas, which Sinclair comes to understand through Pistorius, a being that embraces both good and evil. Abraxas appears in Gnostic tradition as a symbolic figure that holds both light and darkness. Sinclair begins to realize that confusion and loneliness are not failure, but part of the birth of a new self. His awakening means that only by accepting even his own shadow can he move toward a new world. Through this, Hesse tells us that to grow, we must face both the light and the darkness within ourselves. Another important figure in Sinclair's journey is Frau Eva. She is Demian's mother, warm yet captivating like a lover, a guide who leads Sinclair toward discovering his true self. Frau Eva tells him, "The path you must take already exists within you. Do not be afraid." Through her, Sinclair gains the courage to face who he truly is. Demian and Frau Eva tell Sinclair that true growth is not about blindly following existing morality, but about confronting one's inner self and building a new order beyond it. This idea challenged the Christian values of the time, but deeply resonated with young people longing for inner freedom. In the later part of the story, Europe moves toward World War I. Sinclair is eventually sent to the battlefield. Amid gunfire and chaos, he is wounded and begins to lose consciousness. At that moment, as if in a dream, Demian appears beside him. Demian quietly kisses his forehead and says, "Our meeting was not by chance. When you need me someday, listen within yourself." Whether it was real or a voice from within, no one knows. But in that moment, Sinclair gains the strength to walk his own path alone. Demian is both a real friend and the power within Sinclair, a guide to self-discovery, perhaps even his own true self. The bird fights its way out of the egg. The egg is the world. Who would be born must destroy a world. With this book, Hesse gave a new language to the youth of his time, and even today, he asks us whether we are truly living as ourselves. The world imposes countless standards and rules. But in the end, defining who we are and walking our own path is our responsibility. When you are ready to break out of the world you know, your Demian may already be waiting somewhere within you. Today's book was Demian. If you found this video meaningful, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next story. Goodbye.